Alright, once you've completed this step, what you'll need next is a wooden dowel and 2 pieces of wire. This is going to be kind of the hardest part of the entire project. You're also going to need a pair of pliers, whether it's regular slip joint pliers like this or needle nose pliers like these. Either ones will work. I prefer to use these pliers, but both work just fine. What you're going to do is you're going to take this wooden dowel and put it in a vise. Just like that. About half of the wooden dowel should be hanging out. Just like that. And what you're going to do, take your wire, grab onto it with a pair of pliers, and make a hook. Now the reason why we're going to make that hook is because we're going to hook it on to our wooden dowel like this. Now the best way to do it is put it on a bit of an angle, use the pair of pliers to kind of grab and hang on to it, and then just twist the wire around. I would go around one time, one revolution. Now if I look at it from the side, this is what we get. Now we can take that wire and kind of crimp it up a little bit. So it's a little closer. That way it looks something like this. Now we want to do the same thing with our other wire. Both wires are going to be attached to the wooden dowel. Right. So I take my second wire, and to show you with the needle nose pliers, works the same exact way. Grab it, and we start a hook. And same thing, we're going to hook it on, and we're going to wrap it around. I'll give you a different view as I wrap this one. So we've got a close-up shot. As you can see, I've got it wrapped around. Take the pair of pliers and hold on to it, and then we wrap it, pull it around just like that. Basically, we're using the pliers to hold the wire so it doesn't move. Clamp it a little tight. There we go. We have our 2 wires attached, and that's basically all you have to do. So now I've got the 2 wires attached, just like that. And if they fall off, which they might, just put them back on. It's not the end of the world. Okay, so we've got our both wires on, and this is kind of the hard part. So like I said, if you want to rewatch that again, see how I did it, it's just that simple. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take our claw, basically open this up, and we're going to glue this wooden dowel right smack dab in the center. Just like that. Now for this, you actually want to use a fair amount of glue because there's going to be a lot of pressure that acts on here. You got to have everything hold it in place. So I'm going to take my hot glue. You can see I put it on pretty thick. And take my wooden dowel, and then we'll take even some more hot glue, basically we want to kind of lock this piece in using hot glue, and this is like the only time you're going to use a lot of hot glue. So now you're going to have to wait a couple minutes before it finally cools. Don't mess around with it too much, otherwise it could fall off, move out of position. So just leave it there, let it cool, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, now that the glue is pretty much dried and cooled off, what we want to do is close our grippers, or our claw. We're going to take our wires like this, and actually I kind of like to make sure that Flip that one around because it kind of has the angles going in the opposite directions. I mean, it's not the end of the world. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to take these wires and bend them and push them through our styrofoam. Okay, we don't want to drill holes. We're just going to take it and push it through the styrofoam. Now, we don't want to push it back here in this area because we're not going to get enough force to clamp down and pick up our blocks. We want to put the wires in this area up here. Okay. Same thing, we want to make sure that these are pretty straight. How we had like an imaginary line and everything was closed. So we'll take it and you can either use your finger or if you want you can use a pair of pliers and bend it down. Now that piece popped off and you might be thinking, oh man, what are we going to do? We have to glue it down. Nope, just basically put it back on that piece. So my imaginary line is still there. And push it through. Okay, now I'll do the same thing on this one. When we bend this wire, we want to try to keep it relatively straight, but sometimes it always doesn't work out. So I've got my two wires. Now it's not perfectly closed anymore. There's a little bit of gap, but I think we'll still be okay. Now I flip it on the back side. Kind of wires are going all over the place. Kind of straighten them out a little bit. And what we can do is actually bend these wires over to kind of get them out of the way. Now, as you can see, I got this little bit of gap here. For what we're doing, this should still be fine. Okay, this shouldn't be an issue. And then check to see if it works. So if I open and close, open and close, and actually after a little, it's self-adjusted and it closes just perfectly. Now they might not match up exactly anymore, but trust me, it'll pick up our blocks just fine. So now your claw is complete, and basically we have to attach it now to our robotic arm.